feel good. I knew that I wouldn't die. So good, so good. I got you.
Hello and welcome to Out of the Fog. I'm Karen Hager from FogCityPsychic.com. Each week at this time, we gather for spiritual conversation and enlightening guests. Let's get to Shann Vander. She is a successful television advertising sales maven turned international transformation goddess, yogini, and she's the author of Life on Your Terms, the support you need to follow your passion from inspirational entrepreneurs. She is unconventional and delightfully curious, and that's not just like advertising copy. She is unconventional and delightfully curious. She inspires powerful women in transition to get focused now, to follow their passion, and to create more balance in their lives. She is a certified coach. She's a certified yoga instructor, and she invites you to step on the gas and accelerate your life on your terms. You can find out more about Shann and her work at ShannVanderleek.com. That's ShannVanderleek.com. Shann, welcome to Out of the Fog.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Part of what I think, at least to me, makes you such a wonderful force for change and for good in the world is your passion about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So for people who are meeting you for the first time today, can you say a little bit about what you do and how you got to this place on your spiritual journey?
I sure can. Not very long ago, just a little over 5 years ago, I made one of the most important decisions in my lifetime, and that was having the courage to choose to move on from corporate America and start my own business. I was just in that space of feeling very much like I was dancing in a cage for a paycheck and wasn't certain of how in the world I could continue moving forward in my life without making a difference in the world. And finally, the discomfort got to be great enough thanks to a change in management, and I am very grateful to the change, that I moved on. And it's really important to know that these significant transitions, whether they're life transitions or career transitions, are a natural part of our lives. And I wanted to make it easier for others to move through this significant change. And so one of the things that I do is coach people through the process of the 4 stages of transition to make it a little bit easier for them on their journey of reinvention, because it's not necessarily a graceful ride, especially in the beginning. So I'd like to bring more ease and grace to that transformational process.
And you do that with humor and with support. Support seems to me to be a hugely important piece of this as we go through transition, right?
No question, because you're not alone, and so often we feel like we are. I felt like I was the very first corporate executive that ever became unhappy in my role and wanted to leave. It was suffocating. It felt so I was so out of sorts because it was nothing like anything I'd ever experienced before. And as soon as you start to look out on the horizon and realize, oh, there have been people who have gone before me. There are actually professionals that help you look at this stuff and and work through it. And, it's important. It's important no matter what we're going through that we ask for support.
Well, and part of that, at least in my experience, part of the very first step for any change is to get some awareness and look inward. And if I feel like we're all supported by Source, we all have access to energetic support, but then also finding someone to support you, whether that's a coach, it could be your friend or your sister or someone to talk to. A lot of times people who find themselves, especially if you find yourself thrust into change and maybe that's not what you necessarily would have chosen for yourself at that time, there's a sense that you have to, get over it and buck up and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do it all alone. And it's difficult to go through this by yourself.
It is, and it's just not necessary. So if you are listening and you are experiencing a significant career change, either based on your wishes or based on a significant surprise from your employer, know that there are lots of different places that you can go for support and inspiration, and that you will come out the other side, and that you're just right now experiencing that first phase of transition, which is pain and discomfort.
Right. Can you say a little bit about that first stage, what that feels like to people, and what are some of the things they can expect? How do you know you're in that stage, besides the obvious pain and suffering?
Well, in the beginning, it's very much that intuitive feeling that something's happening, that a change is coming. You might not even have any idea of what it is at first. But generally, if we're tuned in, we know something's going on, and you might not really know what to do about it, and you might be in a position where you're kind of fighting it and pushing whatever it is away, or trying to get logical about why you're feeling the way you are or what you're experiencing. And the longer you fight this, the longer you stay in that stage. So this is a time when we're maybe frightened, confused. We might be prone to worry more than we normally do. We're not ourselves. And so if you're in that stage, you can pretty much, it's pretty easy to spot from anybody who loves you or anyone that you share time with, and certainly if you're paying attention to yourself, if you're not numbing yourself out or bumping around from one role to the next without allowing yourself to really inspect what's going on.
Right. And that's not a great place to be in as you're making decisions about how to move forward, I would think, because you're not thinking terribly clearly.
Not at all. This is a time when you want to stick with your routines. We don't want to call on any willpower or make any big changes or resolutions or anything that is going to call up more energy than what we have already. Actually, it's a good time to let go and to whittle down the calendar if you can. This is when we have to be extraordinarily nurturing with ourselves.
As we're going through transition, as we're in that pain and suffering stage, what are some of the things that we can do so that we can move toward feeling good?
The very first thing that I recommend is creating a luscious list. And it's just start with 10 things that you can think of that make you feel good, that nurture you, that are easy and fun. This isn't rocket science. This is simple things like creating a gratitude journal, preparing a healthy meal, playing with your children, taking a walk on a woodland path, just whatever speaks to you. And for me, I like to have fresh cut flowers around, and I love beautiful things, so I might take myself to the museum or to an art show. I love to take pictures, things like that. What makes your luscious list so that you can kind of balance out some of that discomfort by focusing on the things that bring you joy.
Wow, I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't. I feel